Go.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's asking me.
Oh.
Good afternoon, Regina.
Good afternoon, Brenda. Well, morning for me. I'm in the States. It's still morning.
Good morning indeed, and it's afternoon for me. So there we are. We cover the range of it, a bit of the range of the globe. So maybe if I can just say to the audience, this is Regina Bergman, and I'm Brendah Ndebele. Hello, everyone. And I think I will not try to introduce you by way of saying what your background is. Suffice to say to everybody, Regina is my marketing coach. Indeed, she's more than that. She is the one coach I have found to be willing to go the extra mile in every respect. She gives you her time. She listens to you. She is incredibly approachable and available, and will actually address with you, will explore with you, even stuff that is not strictly speaking marketing. Is there for you as an entrepreneur. That's her commitment. I am here to make you become the person you are meant to become, and therefore will explore with you even the things that she herself is saying, oh, I have to learn about that, but it doesn't send you off scaring, go and find out for yourself kind of thing. So I wanted to say that up front, so that that's the framework within which our discussion is going to be. So you really appreciate what she's going to share with you. That aside though, she has a wealth of knowledge as a marketing expert. So that's why I'm so grateful that you made this time, Regina. I know how incredibly busy you are, to give us some of your wisdom and some of your expertise today about how marketing can be made simple. Because for people like me, and most of my audience will be me, and you know how when I first came to you in particular, health, so heart-centered health coaches, people working in the health industry, we hear marketing, immediately we think selling. I'm not a salesperson. I would never go into that kind of work. But I have learned so much, and if nothing else, if I just had one thing that I've taken from you, is that marketing is not selling. So,
very true.
Having said that, I want to hand over to you, because really I want you just to share with the audience. I don't want this to be a Q&A session, because it'll be too stilted. I know that you give of yourself better if you can just share what marketing is about.
Very
Can
good.
you start first of all by saying who you are, so that people have a context?
Sure. So first of all, I'm honored to be here. I'm truly honored that you invited me, Brenda, and grateful for this opportunity to share with your audience a little bit more about marketing and to take some of that pressure off.
It's a long week for both of us. We can't speak.
I have to tell you, Brenda and I always have a wonderful time when we're together. There's a lot of laughter that happens when we are together. We get a lot of work done, but we laugh a lot, and laughter is great medicine for whatever ails you.
Yeah, absolutely. You learn more actually when your brain is in laughter mode, I find.
Yeah. So I'm Regina Bergman, as Brenda said, and I am CEO of Bridgeport Strategy. We're a 4-year-old company, almost 5, here in Texas. So, it's delightful to be connected with Brenda in the UK. I love it that we live in such a global society, which actually can lead right into marketing here in just a second, because marketing has changed dramatically because of the global nature of how we do things now. We live in the best time ever to be a marketer and to be an entrepreneur. You're no longer restricted to your neighborhood. You're no longer, think about that. I think about when a lot of folks originally came to the States, immigrants coming in, and they would open up a store, and that store only served their neighborhood, right? That was their market. That was their world, was their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's not true now. I mean, every day we have the opportunity to speak to someone across the globe, to serve someone across the globe without the expense that was there a few years ago. Because a few years ago, to try to serve somebody across the globe was extremely expensive. You had long distance phone calls, and and now, I mean, folks don't even know what a landline is. We live on our cell phones. So, and we have those unlimited long distance plans, and we have all of that. And so it changes everything, and the internet has changed everything. So literally the world is your oyster now. You can market to anywhere in the world, but you got to know what you're doing to do it effectively and to
Actually,
get that return.
You skipped a bit of a stage that I think our younger, the millennials might be interested to hear. So we went from connecting, however, whether we're marketing or was business supplying other businesses, we went from everything being done by people actually physically traveling from one country to the other. Remember the days of, and they were men because they were actually called businessmen, and most of the flights were reserved for businessmen, 80 plus, 80% plus, because they were just traveling from this country to that country. That was the only way you could do business. Then we had landlines, as you say, but there was a step that I think I just want to highlight for our millennials, and that is, I remember the days of being, if you're corporate, you were head of service and did your business manager, you had to have these conference calls. Do you remember those as well?
Yes.
Oh, and the poor telephone operators had to connect. They'd say, right, I've got you on, so now I need to get that person's line on from Glasgow, that person from France, and you all be sitting in the room waiting one by one to be connected and so on. And every meeting used to take that little bit longer because, you had to have all these lines connected. Can you imagine now, with the days of, as you say, cell phones, we say mobile phones, no landlines. So it's a different world.
It is. And, I used to travel quite a bit regionally for my job. And, we didn't have cell phones. I mean, today it's an appendage, right? I mean, it's part of our hand, it's part of our arm. We're never anywhere without it. But back then we didn't. And there were payphones.
Yes.
So you had to plan your trip so that you could stop at a payphone and make a call back to your office or call a client or whatever that was. And so you would drive for miles. Where I live in Texas. It's a huge state, folks. I drove from the north west corner once to the southeast corner. It was a 17-hour drive from one corner of the state to another, okay? And a lot of that is open space. So you literally could drive for an hour or two without seeing a gas station, without seeing a place that you could actually stop and make a phone call. And it slowed the trip down dramatically, right? And you had to travel to meet people, to do things. It's a totally different world. I remember just this little side story you reminded me of here, Brendah. When I got my first cell phone, I got it for Christmas. And there's a town about 25 miles from us that I know some folks in, and I wanted to take some Christmas goodies over to them on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So I hop in my car and I head out, and I've got my brand new cell phone with me. And I head out, and about 5 miles outside of their town, my car breaks down.
Oh.
And so I'm sitting on the side of the road, and not one person stops and offers me any assistance. But I've got my brand new cell phone. And so I call home, and my husband comes and he fixes it and gets me out of that mess.
Thank God you had the cell phone by then.
With my very first cell phone, it was too funny.
And how big was it? How big was it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It wasn't this, that's for sure.
No, mine was like a brick. I remember it.
Yeah. So anyway, we've come a long way. And that has dramatically changed how we can market. And Brendah made a great distinction between marketing and sales. Sales don't happen without marketing. The sale is actually when someone purchases your product. Marketing is getting your message in front of them so that they can purchase your product.
Yeah. Yeah.
But until they know about it, they can't buy it.
Yeah.
So marketing is extremely important. And it is, if you're going for sales first, you've got the cart before the horse, okay? You got to get the marketing out there first. The marketing will lead people to purchase from you. But the thing one of the things that's really important to know is not everybody's going to buy from you. And you've got to figure out who it is. We talk in English class, you learn the 5 words, right? Who, what, where, when, why, all of that. And you've got to put those into place in your marketing. Who am I marketing to? Who's my ideal client? And if you haven't spent the time on that yet, I encourage you to stop everything and do that, because it changes everything when you know who your ideal client is. That's step 1, is figuring out who they are. So a couple of pointers on that is figure out what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because your passion will attract your ideal clients to you, because they're passionate about that also. And so that passion attracts the passion, and they'll come into your world, and it will help you. We get hung up a lot today, I think, on competition, and that there's not enough to go around. I've got to beat this guy out of it so I can have that client. But that's really not the case. There's an abundance of clients to go around. We don't have to fight over them. Brenda's going to attract certain people into her world. I'm going to attract certain people into my world. You're going to attract certain people into your world. And we don't have to fight over them. And we can work together to make it better for everyone. And so if we can kind of eliminate that thought of, I have to beat out my competition. Now, I want to define that a little bit more, though, because you do need to stand out in your marketplace. And you have to have what we call a market dominating position, something that sets you apart completely from others who do the same thing that you do. And a lot of that comes from within you. It's who you are. It's the skill sets that you bring to the table. It's that passion and purpose that you have that sets you apart from the person next door who sells the same product or service that you sell. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I was thinking, that I said particularly, I'm not sure why I said particularly, for health coaches, because in a sense, health is health, isn't it? Because everybody is affected one way or another by health. So there is an inclination, if you like, to assume that because of that, therefore, as a health coach, I can say, well, but surely I save everybody, because at some point everybody's gone, has health problems. But actually, even that be the case, it actually doesn't mean that therefore you can market yourself as a coach for everyone.
That's right.
I was talking to a colleague. I undertook training together with for our certification training. And we were both interested in, actually, she was my coach buddy. We were interested in very similar areas of health. And so we discovered. And then we said, oh, but how's that going to be? We don't want to compete. But actually, what we soon got to realize very quickly was that her perspective into this particular health, so it was about obesity and either obesity in its own right, but also diabetes. But actually, what we then realized that she was more interested in the diabetes. I'm more interested in obesity. Yes, obesity can be the underlying problem, so to speak, that then leads to diabetes as one of the symptoms or one of the conditions that arises from that. But so immediately, I think the point I'm making is to underline what you just said, that we then realize that actually we can serve more or less similar people, but actually in very different, distinct ways, because she was
Right.
going to be working with those who are pre-diabetic, because she said, I don't want to wait until they're full-blown diabetes, because by then they're on insulin, it will take too much work and for them to actually address the issues. Whereas if they're pre-diabetic, I think I can help them better. And I was saying, well, I actually want to work with people who are getting into obesity, or were soon diagnosed, so that's such a word, as being obese, to actually say, look, these are the chronic conditions that you can end up with, that can be the result of your obesity. Let's address them before you become diabetic, before you,
Right.
etc., etc. So we immediately found a way of working together, supporting one another, without feeling that we were in competition in a way that was negative.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. That's a perfect example, Brenda. Perfect example of what I'm talking about here. So your experiences in life have brought you to the place where you are and to the passion that you have. Her
Yes.
experiences have brought her to where she's at in her passion.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so you're serving similar audiences, but with a different expertise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's important too in figuring out who your audience is what is your area of expertise?
Yeah.
What is it that your life experiences, your training, everything that's taken place in your life have brought you to the place of being an expert in?
Yeah.
And
because people respect that, don't they? They respect that, because one of the questions that they were going to, they may not exactly ask you directly, but you know that it's kind of like there, what do you know about it? And, so if people can pick up, they can sense that actually, you actually have an understanding that's more than just theoretical. You really have gone through that journey. You've been there, done
right.
that, what you shared. It lends you much more authority.
Right. I have a new line to that been there, done there, got the t-shirt.
Have
Have I
you?
shared that with you?
Yes, yes.
Had the bonfire. That shirt in the bonfire.
Oh, I like that.
I don't want that shirt. So let's take this the next step of the journey here. So once you know who is your ideal client, who it is that you want to serve, there's a couple of other things you need to recognize. First of all, they have no need for you if you don't solve a problem for them. So they're not going to be attracted to anything that you do if you don't solve a problem for them. And I love that Brenda touched on the fact that we tend to think everybody can use my services. And as a business coach, I know that what I do can help a huge variety of people. But that whole package is not my audience. For whatever reason, a lot of them are not my audience. And so I hone in on one particular area. And for me, that's people who have a passion to make a difference in the world. And they want to build this business to support that passion, to support their family, to allow them to make a greater impact in the world. And that's who my ideal client is. So you've got to kind of figure out who yours is. And then everything you do has to be tailored to that ideal client.
Yeah.
Instead of to the world. Because if I just market, if you're a business owner, you can use my services, no one's going to hear me. I get lost. I'm just a commodity. They have absolutely no confidence in my ability to do what I'm saying. And I'm just noise in the background. Okay? Just noise. They're not hearing me. So you have to figure out what problem do you solve for them? And all of your marketing needs to be around solving that problem for them. So we've heard it said frequently lately that we have the attention span of a goldfish, although no one can define that for us.
In some respects, I kind of think we served goldfish, I'm sure.
So the point is that we have a very small attention span. And it's somewhere around 7 seconds or so. And depending upon what report you look at, it's, plus minus
5 seconds, I think now is the latest.
Yeah, it's short. Oh dear, my headset is fading. I forgot to plug it in last night. So I may have to switch that as we go along here. We'll see.
Okay.
So people have a very short attention span. So you have seconds to get their attention, literally seconds. And, we scroll through life. We scroll through our Facebook. We scroll through LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, mindlessly for the most point. We're scrolling through mindlessly until we hit something that grabs our attention. Now, if I have a problem and Brendah has a solution to that problem and her marketing indicates that, she's going to grab my attention because I don't want this problem.
Yeah.
I have it, but I don't want it and I don't know how to get rid of it. So if her headline on her marketing says that she has a solution to that problem, I'm going to give her a couple more seconds to find out if she really has a solution.
Yeah.
So this is all part. This headline subheadline piece is part of something we call the conversion equation, and I'll dive into that a little bit more here in just a moment. That's step 1 and 2, that we have to have a headline that interrupts them in their scrolling and references that problem that they have, and a subheadline that says, I've got a solution, and gives some credibility to that solution, even though you're not telling them the solution yet. So your marketing message is extremely important. And once you arrive at that marketing message, it really defines all of your marketing moving forward. Everything comes back to that message. Does that make sense, Brendah?
It does. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what is our message? And that message becomes part of our strategic plan. So one of the things that happens with entrepreneurs a lot is that we market very tactically, which means that we just keep trying different techniques, right?
Yes, I was going to say, please explain the difference between strategic approach versus a tactical approach, because I know that when I first started working with you, I thought I had a definition, a descriptive understanding of those words. I didn't actually understand it in relation to marketing.
Very good. So with tactical approaches, we sit in on a workshop today and somebody tells us, this is the way to do it. You need to build your email list to 10,000 people, and you need to send an email out every day. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a tactic, a part of our overall strategy. But what happens for a lot of entrepreneurs is we hear that message today, so we say, okay, I'll go try that. Yeah. And we don't get a result because we don't have a plan. We're just doing something. It's like taking a shotgun and shooting it at our marketing, right?
Yes. Pot shot.
Scattergun approach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it doesn't work. And so that one didn't work. So next week we're going to try something else. Oh, I heard so-and-so is doing this. I'll try it. Oh, I heard so-and-so says this worked for them. I'll try that. And nothing is working because we don't have any consistency and we don't have a plan. They're just tactics. Now, tactics are awesome if they're part of an overall strategy plan. And that strategic plan not only tells how you're going to market, I am going to do emails, and I am going to do some Facebook ads, and I want to do some stories on Instagram, okay? Whatever your marketing is, your avenues that you've chosen.
And they're all pulling in the same direction, and they're all pulled together. Then actually,
by that message that we've arrived at, that we've said, this is our message.
Yeah.
And we're going to use it on everything. And then we're also going to use this 4-step conversion equation process on every piece of marketing material we used. And we talked about the first 2 levels. One is that we address their problem, their pain point. And the other is that the subheadline becomes, I have a solution for you, but it doesn't tell them what the solution is yet. The next level is, so those are called interrupting and engage, by the way. Our headline interrupts them in their scrolling, right?
Yeah.
If it's powerful enough, they're going to give us a couple more seconds to say, let's see what you've got. And so our subheadline indicates that we have a solution. Now we need to educate them about why we're different than everybody else, what makes us stand out and have that solution for them. Yeah. So it's not about us, though, it's about them. Remember that they're always looking for what's in it for me. And we see marketing all the time that's all about the person who's marketing. Nobody's watching, nobody's paying any attention, nobody's calling you because they don't want to know about you. They want to know what you can do for them. Okay? So you have to make sure that in that how I stand out from other people is addressing what's in it for them. This is how I make a difference in the lives of others. Not, oh, I've got this degree and I went to that college and no, that's not what it's about. It's about them. Okay? So, and then the fourth element is to make an offer to them. Now, I'm not saying sell them something. I'm saying provide them something of value that's going to move them along their journey of getting to a solution. I want to, Brenda, make sure I come back to journey in a moment, okay?
Oh yeah, I've got customer's journey ingrained in my brain.
Good deal. So you want to make an offer that's an absolute no-brainer for them, and it is low to no risk. Now, what do I mean by that? If my offer says, pick up the phone and call me, that's a high-risk offer because I don't know you enough. I don't trust you yet. So to pick up the phone and call you and have you browbeat me into a sale, not going to happen. I'm not going to do that, right? And your prospects aren't going to do that. But if I say, hey, you know what? I've got this free report that could help you with your problem. Oh, okay, how do I get it? Well, just give me your first name and your email, and I'll give you this report. Okay, I can do that. Now, there's going to be some folks who say giving you my email is too big of a risk. I can't do that. And that's fine. They're going to walk away, and that's okay. But most people will say, yeah, that's not too big of a risk. If I can get this free report, and I don't have to talk to anybody, nobody's going to try and sell me on something, then yeah, I'll take the free report.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our conversion equation. We've got an interrupting headline, an engaging subheadline, one that lets them know that we have a solution. We have education about how we solve their problem, why we are the solution for that. And then we have a no-brainer, no-risk offer for them to take advantage of. And that's called a call to action also, that offer. We're asking them to take one step, just one step. So, any questions on that part, Brenda, on that conversion equation?
No, I think that's the clearest I've heard you say yet. Okay. Maybe because I now understand it. That's why it sounds so clear. It took me some time to get my head around it. But I think that's clear. I think that's
good. So let's go back a step and talk about what's called the buyer's journey. Yeah. It's really important to know that once you've identified who your ideal clients are, they're not 100% of them going to beat a path to your door tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got to identify them. You've got to get a message in front of them. And they're still not 100% of them going to beat a path to your door.
That wouldn't happen in a shop anyway.
What was that?
Even in a shop, that would not be the case.
Yeah. So only about 3% of them are ready to buy right now. The others are in what we call the buyer's journey, and they're gathering information to make certain that the choice they make is the right choice. So the earlier you get in front of them in that journey with your free information offer and additional free information offers after that, the more you create a relationship with them and you create trust, so that when they are ready to buy, now you're the logical choice for them to come to get that product or that service, because you've been providing them service all along the way. So when they're ready, you're the one they're going to seek out.
Yeah.
So when they give you, in that offer that you had, and they gave you their email and their first name, you now have the opportunity to put them in an email list and be able to send them additional items. Now, they have to consent to that. And it's particularly important where Brendah is at, but it's important world over. But there are specific laws in England and Europe about that. There is a different law in Canada and the US, but I anticipate eventually we will adopt the law that you folks have.
Yes. Can I just say something on that? Let me just say what it is, and then people can Google it and get the detail of it. So the law that Regina is rightly alerting you to is called the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulations, and this was an approach taken very swiftly by government, the UK government, no less, following what happened from the actions of what is called a company called Cambridge Analytics, which is in the UK, in the city of Cambridge, obviously. Well, sometimes such places are called something else. So in the city of Cambridge, very, very big organization involved with all manner of data, and with Facebook. So they got hold of, they had all this data, millions of people's data. And the long and short of it is that they allowed a third party or third parties to use this data in all manner of activities without so much as informing the individuals, let alone asking the permission of those individuals. When Facebook was first challenged about this, said nothing to do with us, nothing to do with us, it's Cambridge Analytics, and we weren't even aware of it. But anyway, the investigation that was undertaken found that to be wrong, to say a lie. But anyway, Facebook was fined a lot of money, and a lot of work, as Regina says, is actually being undertaken to this. Facebook has said they are going to put their house in order in a way that's going to be worldwide. But GDPR is so serious. The Europe and the UK, we already had data protection 1998 law, but actually GDPR sits on top of that. And if you do anything at all that anybody says, you used my email address without asking me, I didn't give you that permission, or feels aggrieved in any way, they are all over you, like whatever. So just don't do it. They're all over. They're already, so one or two companies have already been fined. So I would.
And the fines are pretty big, from what I understand.
And they are not tuppence fines. I was just about to say, because one thing that was said was that we are not going to mess around, because if we say £50 here, £20 there, people are just going to continue regardless. And the fines, I think, are something like 10% of yearly revenue, or 5%. Anyway, it's a percentage of the revenue. So, so you can imagine, can you? So if your revenue is millions, it's not going to be tuppence, is it?
Right.
So very, very big fines. But anyway, the point I think we're trying to make is that there are laws governing how we use the data that potential prospects, customers, clients, whoever you actually interface with, lets you have access to. So it's always important to make sure that you have, you cross your T's and you dot your I's. That saying that says better safe than sorry.
Yes. And what happens when you have that marketing piece out there and somebody gives you that email? Most of us use what are called autoresponders, most marketers. And an autoresponder is a database that takes that information that person has given you, and you know, they put it into a database that then you're able to send them additional content because you now have this
like
mailing
MailChimp,
list.
like
MailChimp. Exactly. Most autoresponders, if not all, now are fully compliant with GDPR.
Yeah,
and
they are.
with MailChimp, you can just click a button and say, yes, I want this to be GDPR compliant.
Yes.
And so that you make sure that you're following all of those laws. So it's really important. It's really important because everyone has the option to opt out. I mean, I could take Brenda's report that she's offering, and as soon as I get it, I can click on the button that says I want to unsubscribe. I don't want to see anything else from Brenda. And she has to honor that.
Yeah,
I have to honor that. You have to honor that.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, but it's right there. And so at any time I can unsubscribe, and you can't send me anything else once I unsubscribe. So it's important that you do have what's called an autoresponder. MailChimp is a good one. It's one of the least expensive. They actually have $10 a month plan. As you get more names in your database, then the price goes up $10 for every so many hundred of names that you have in there. And you can set it up so that you have, I'm going to throw another term out for you here, a drip campaign. So if you think about a leaky faucet for a moment, that faucet drips, right? And it drips at a specific interval. You can time it, the time between each drop, right? Okay, so what you want to do is drip content onto your clients. Those folks, they're not clients yet, they're still prospects. They're still leads at this point. And they're taking advantage of the free content that you're offering. Now, what is content? So for Brenda, it might be a report, some kind of a health and wellness report. Might be a checklist of, you know, here's some great things to do every day to make sure you're in optimal health. And what content is, because you're going to hear that term a lot in terms of marketing. We talk about content marketing all the time and repurposing your content. And there's all these buzzwords out there. But content just means value that you are giving to your prospects. That's what it is. Whatever is valuable to them to move them along in their decision-making process and to come to the place that they know you're the right choice for them. You're the perfect partner for them. Okay? Yeah. So we drip, coming back to our drip that drips at the same pace, we set up a campaign inside of our auto responder, that program that automatically sends things out for us. We set up a campaign in there to drip our content on our leads at specific intervals. And thus it's a drip campaign. I hope that makes sense.
It does. I can give people, if I can share from my perspective, because I know that sometimes it's easier for my people to understand.
Absolutely.
By one of them. So, for example, at the moment, I have got an email campaign of it's under 10 days. So it's between 6 and 10 days. I can't remember exactly where I decided to stop, maybe 7 days, which is just short emails about about tips, what to do each day, just to kind of focus, to make sure that they are focused on your self-care. What quick things can you do to ensure that if you're not started on the journey of self-care, you get started. If you already started, how you can remotivate, because I know this is a big thing. People say, oh, I started, but you just keeping going is such hard work. Some days, I just feel like death warmed up. The last thing I want to do is to exercise, this kind of thing. And then some people say, well, I'm okay for 4 days or 5 days, but then the weekend I'm just flaked out, or vice versa. Weekend I'm really focused on my self-care. During the week, I'm just so pressurized with work. So I've kind of like addressed all the different scenarios, and I've been getting really good compliments about that. And people say, oh, that day, the email just pinged into my inbox right at the right time. The timing couldn't have been better. So it's that sort of thing. So and I just time them to go mornings.
Right.
So that actually catches people before they get set up. And my next campaign is going to be about, I've already done the ebook. It's about how to set up, to create your own morning routine, how to get going, how to set yourself up for the morning. And again, I've got something like 5 strategies. So again, I'm going to read those, as Regina says, over several days.
Very good. Now, Brendah, do you know where folks are at in their buyer's journey with you?
Well, no.
No. Perfect answer. Thank you. Exactly what I wanted to hear. You know, there's always a risk when you ask a question, you don't know what the other person's going to answer.
No. I knew what, and I've worked with you long enough now.
So, if we don't know where they're at in the journey, there's some things that we have to do, right? So you don't know when is the right time to put an offer in front of them because you don't know where they're at in that journey, if they're ready to buy now or if they're not. So your drip campaign needs to include, you know, like maybe 3 or 4 days of just value, not asking for a thing. And then the 4th or the 5th day, you also give them an offer of a next step for them. Okay. Yes. So, because you don't know where they're at. You don't know when it's going to be time. I interviewed a lady this year or last year in South America, and she helps people write their books. And she's had an email list for over 10 years. She's had folks on that list. Yeah. And 10 years after coming onto that list, a lady finally raised her hand and said, I'm ready to do my book now. 10 years.
I think that is the record. I have to say, I've heard of people taking 12 months, and I thought 2 years was bad enough. Somebody gave an example of 2 years, but when you gave that example of 10 years the other day in our group, I thought, my God, that takes a biscuit. So you just don't know when people are going to be ready, because there's so many factors that come into play. It could be about their personal situation. It could be about work. It could be about all sorts. It could be internal, what's going on with their mindset. It could be external factors they're not in control of, so it could be anything.
So how long do you keep them on that email list and continue?
For me, it's simple. For as long as I have their permission to keep them on there, I would never bump anybody out. I would never say, oh, you're wasting my time. You've been there for 3 months. I mean, I've had a colleague say that if someone has been around for 6 months, I want nothing to do with them because they're just wasting my time. I want people who are serious and people go-getters and so on. I'm thinking, I'm kind of like a getter, but I don't know that I've always got going with everything within 6 months. Some things are life-changing. Things are life-changing. And I was thinking one time actually I was moving, and there was something I wanted to do. I couldn't do it because I was moving house. And I just thought there's no way I can take on 2 life-changing things at the same time.
Exactly. Timing is everything.
Absolutely. Timing is everything. And having a roof over my head was a kind of like,
Well, your friend and mine, John Assaraf.
Oh, yes.
In a class that I was in with him in San Diego, he said, somebody asked how long, and he said, until they die or tell you to remove them. You keep them on.
You see, I agree. I couldn't. I don't think I'd want to be quite so. Talk about death, but that's John though. John carries that. He carries that off very well. Yes. I don't think I could actually, talk to people and say until they die.
Yeah.
I think that.
But the point is, it's a long term, and here's what most people do: once or twice.
Yeah.
And they're done. And they lost all of that potential business. Yeah. 3% of your people are ready to buy now. You've just told 97% to go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop sending them those emails.
That's silly. Yeah.
But make sure that content that you're offering has real value for them. Yeah. Make sure.
And also that for me, one thing I've learned from you, Regina, sorry to interrupt, but then I want to, I'm so excited by this discussion. And also I'm excited to show to people that I've learned something from you. Well, a lot actually.
A lot.
Loads. Loads. But
Implemented.
one of the things I have learned from you is that, because I know why I picked this up so quickly, because I've been into that shiny syndrome thing, whatever it's called.
Yes, shiny object syndrome.
Shiny object. I also get the objects bit. I don't know why I forget. Shiny object syndrome. So until I met you, nobody had actually clarified for me the importance of that the content had to be relevant to the, to your audience,
Right.
to your market, and also to your passion. What fires you up, because that's what you're going to be offering them. That's what. So I remember the first year, I was just sending anything and everything that I came across. So I'd see this shiny objects, thing that came across my inbox. I think, oh, that's interesting, and let me share with my audience.
Right.
And I'm sure it must have been perplexing people, because because one minute I would be sending them something about how to make money and how to sell houses and how to climb Kilimanjaro, and how I was just sending everything, because nobody has said to me it has got. I mean, I should have realized. I suppose it's common sense, but the point that had been hammered home to me was about keep people interested. You've got to send them content, rather than actually, yes, content, but it's got to be meaningful, and therefore it's got to be, relevant to, to your audience, and it's got to make sense, and it's got to be about that solution again you talked about, because no point just sending for the sake of sending. They're going to, when they read it, they're going to think, oh, actually, Brendah is a person who could actually problem solve this problem I've got. Because
Exactly.
look at what you just sent me, it makes sense.
If you can kind of engineer that pathway, if you can say, if they're here, what else do they need? What are the steps that are going to move them along? And then create the content that helps them take that next step. So that ultimately the next step is whatever your product or service is. Yeah. That's a really good point, Brendah.
Yeah. And you see, I'm hoping that I've been working along those lines with my boot camp and the work, because I fine-tuned my program on the basis of the boot camps that we started to do. Very much that I kind of, because when you trained us through the boot camp, I understood for the first time the buyer's journey, and I thought, that is how my program, in terms of me getting people interested to work with me in my program, the information I send them should actually be kind of outlining the journey, so that actually, as much as possible, I'm anticipating at what stage you're at now, and then, so I've given them this bit, a tidbit to get started. Then they're kind of wanting to know more information, or they've got this kind of questions. So then I try to answer the next lot of questions, or the next lot of, query or anxiety or skepticism, whatever. So that's what I've been trying to do with my program.
That's awesome. Something we often don't think about is that every solution to a problem creates a new problem.
Absolutely.
And so think through, what is the new problem created once I have this solution? What's the new problem, and what's the answer to that problem? And just take that out, until we're to that point of being ready.
That's a very good idea. That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, and we're not trying to take them from point A to point Z in one step. It's a multi-step strategic process. Trying to
overwhelm people if you try to do that. And nobody will stick around. You'd overwhelm them, and they will just clear the path.
And it's very tactical. Trying to go to A to Z in one step is very tactical, not strategic.
Exactly.
So we can't do that. We need to be strategic about how we're bringing them into our world and how we're supporting them. And you really need to think service and support.
Yeah.
Giving value is serving them and supporting them. Brendah, I do a boot camp, and I also have clients and I have programs for them.
Yeah.
But my goal inside of my group, you may laugh at this, but my goal is to give so much value to people inside the group for free, that they say, holy cow, I can't imagine what her paid program is going to do for me. If this is what she's giving me for free, I can't even imagine. I've got to have it. I want to be in that program. I want to take it to the next step. So,
and you do, and you do, and you know that those of, and you see, the other thing that is important to then say is, I know that there will be some skeptics who then say, well, she's already shared everything that she's going to share, so there's no point going on a program. Because I've had people say that sometimes.
Yeah.
When I've run workshops, I've had people sort of say, well, what's the point of working with you then? Because you
Right.
covered everything in this workshop. It's been so packed full of stuff. And I say, but you see, that is only the beginning.
exactly.
And your programs, the way, the value you give through that, and it's a lot of value. It's a lot of, it's not just information, because it's curated information, but it's a lot of value. But actually, then working with you is a great deal more than that. A great deal more.
Thank you. Thank you. I had a thought while you were saying that. Don't know what it was now.
Sorry. This happens when we speak.
Triggered a thought, and then I was so engrossed in listening to what you said, the thought just went someplace else. So that's okay, because that means I was listening.
Thank you. But I'm sorry now to be interjected. But I needed to tell people what I shared, because I do know that there are some people who say, well, if you're saying you pack full so much before, during the kind of boot camp, what is the point then of signing up to work with you? The point, there's a point in that there's a great deal more you learn. For a start, you don't just learn. Regina takes you through the implementation in a way that if you try to do it on your own, even if you were to succeed, and not everybody will succeed, it would take you a great deal more, twice as long, if not longer. And actually, you would have gone through so much pressure that, and unnecessarily.
Right.
And working with her, it takes all that away.
And for your business as well as mine, the iceberg analogy applies.
Yes.
What you're giving in your boot camp is the tip of the iceberg of what you can truly offer them. And that iceberg analogy is that on the surface we see this huge iceberg, but it's such a tiny part of the big part that's below.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yet when we see that top, we think, oh my God, kind of thing like that. That's all there is. And it's only when a diver will tell you that there's much bigger, which is why most ships get, look at the Titanic.
Yeah, really.
There you go. Yes. Need I say more?
Well, speaking of boot camps, to go back to that for just a moment, I would like to let the listeners know that starting on Monday, I have a boot camp coming up on the
Monday the 9th, people.
Monday the 9th through the 13th. And we'll go for about 30 minutes to an hour every day. It's going to be on Monday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it's going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning. On Tuesday, it's going to be at 10:30, I think that's the time, 10 or 10:30. But
you might want to say, it might be useful for you to say what time zone that is. I don't want people thinking, because Brenda's in London, is London time. It's nothing to do with London, that time zone.
This is Central Standard Time. So
which is 6 hours behind UK time, just in case.
That's right. You have to know there are 4 time zones in the U.S.
Yeah. Yes. Crazy. One country, 4 time zones.
One country, 4 time zones. So, So
we have 4 countries in the UK, 1 time zone.
But it doesn't take you 17 hours to drive across the either.
When you said about the 17 hours, I was thinking, even going to Scotland doesn't take you that long driving. I think it's my little fear. It would take me 7-8 hours.
Yeah.
That was bad enough. 17 hours, still in one state.
Still in one state. Yeah. Yeah. So But anyway, I invite all of your audience who would like to participate. It is free. Brenda will give you the location here when we finish up, but it's the name of my group on Facebook is Entrepreneurial Leaders Making a Difference, because that's who I serve, entrepreneurs who are leaders and want to make that difference in others' lives. And so
if you're an entrepreneur and really you want to learn more than what you've heard Regina talk about, and believe you me, that is just a snippet what she's managed to share with us. As useful as it's been, go on the boot camp, because you won't look back. It will just move you forward so much more in many ways, particularly your mindset. It's what is in practical terms, obviously. But yeah, join the boot camp. I would urge you to, because you learn so much. Now let me say about my boot camp. I've also got a boot camp, for health. Mine is not next week, because we talk amongst ourselves and we're strategic in what we do. We don't overwhelm you. So mine is the last week in September, 23rd to the 20th. So 5 days later, what is that then? 26th or 27th? 27th, I think. So 26 to 27, and mine is called Healthy Success, the link between health and success. And the title says it all. So I address what is that link that is so vital for you to actually be successful in a way that you're still healthy enough to enjoy your success. What is that link? So yeah, so 5 days. Mine is in a Joyful Life Coaching, which is my Facebook. Joyful Life Coaching, not group, because there's so many a Joyful Life. So mine, but you see me, you see that the other people are not quite me. Yes. So so different people. Yeah, so we'll be really pleased if you could, as many of you as can, make Regina's group camp next week, 9th to the 13th, and my boot camp 23rd to the 26th or 27th, the Friday, Saturday. And my time, mine is going to be, just to confuse you, 4 p.m. UK time. So please work out what that means for a time zone. It won't be BST anymore, because we come out of the summer now, so it's GMT, but it's UK time zone anyway. So 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So around about the time we started. Okay, is there anything else you want to share with our audience? Because we've been going for an hour, I think.
We have. Yeah. This has been fun.
Over an hour. Whoa.
Yeah. I just wanted to make the analogy of, you talked about, okay, well, you've given me all this information. Is there really anything more? It's the same thing with, this is a snippet of what you can get in the boot camp. The boot camp is a snippet of what you can get in our programs. So it's, each one is building. We talked about being congruent in your messaging and making sure that what you're offering along the way matches up and leads logically to your service or product. And that's what this does as well. You're marketing in a very non-threatening, trust-building way. Yeah. And it's just a step in the progression, as is boot camp and other things that we offer you and all of the content that we offer.
Yeah. And you meet other people, and you learn so much from the cross-fertilization. So enjoy the weekend, everybody. Enjoy the weekend, Regina. I'm so grateful to you for this input. Thank you very much indeed, and have a good weekend.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you.